Did a missed opportunity cost CSK dearly in their game against GT? Samson gets done multiple times by swing, and what did Gurjapneet do so differently that made him stand out amongst CSK bowlers? All of this in today's episode of the 23rd Yard Club Cricket Podcast. We had a bit of a butterfly effect moment in the GT versus CSK game. It all began with a wide ball down the leg side from Spencer Johnson that jacked back sharply towards offside after passing the batter. The kind of movement that you expect to see on a gloomy afternoon in Leeds rather than in an IPL match. Sanju Samson, standing behind the stumps, was equally caught by a surprise and ended up injuring his finger in the process. It hit his thumb or it hit his finger and went through for a single. That brought Urvil Patel into the game as a stand-in wicketkeeper. Now, Urvil does keep wickets for Gujarat in domestic cricket. This wasn't exactly a part-time keeper being asked to squat behind the stumps for the first time in his life. But there is still a massive difference between keeping in front of 10, 20 people in domestic cricket, in a domestic cricket game, and suddenly doing it in front of the 50,000 roaring fans in a high-pressure IPL match where every edge sounds like a gunshot and every appeal arrives with the emotional restraint of a WWE crowd. And as it turned out, that moment mattered. When Shubman Gill had just gone past his 50, he nicked one to the keeper. Urvil, he caught it cleanly enough, but there was no appeal from him. Maybe he didn't hear it, maybe the bowler didn't hear it, maybe the noise swallowed the sound, maybe there was uncertainty for a split second. Whatever the reason, they didn't appeal, the chance went begging, and Gill carried on. At the other end, Sai Sudharsan was in one of those slightly awkward phases of a T20 innings where you're not really struggling, but neither have you fully slipped into rhythm. He was moving along, chugging along, but the innings still felt like it was waiting for that ignition, that change to a third, fourth, or the fifth gear. Gill, meanwhile, had taken on more of the scoring responsibility, and that allowed Sudarshan a little breathing space, and that's how they've been batting this season. Then came the shift. Of the very next over after that missed edge, the ninth of the innings, Sudarshan broke free. A 6, a 4, then another boundary of the first ball of the 10th. And just like that, the innings had changed gears. Soon enough, a 35 ball 50 arrived for Sai, but more importantly, it arrived with momentum now completely behind him rather than pressure quietly building around him. And this is where cricket becomes wonderfully stupid and impossible to predict. One tiny moment, a keeper not hearing an edge, can alter the emotional flow of an innings entirely. Because we can only speculate what might have happened had Gill actually walked off at that stage. Had there been an appeal and had Gill been given out, maybe Sudarshan would still have accelerated anyway because he's that good a player. But there's also a very real possibility that the loss of a settled partner, a settled, high-scoring, aggressive partner at the other end might have forced him to reset for a few more overs before attacking again. On surfaces or situations where rhythm matters, a wicket can briefly pull the handbrake on an innings even if the incoming batter is competent, which was Josh Buttler in this case. Instead, Gill stayed on. The partnership stayed on. The pressure never properly arrived. And from that moment, that edge wasn't appealed for. Sudarshan went on to score 60 of his next 31 balls. That's the thing with the T20 cricket. Entire innings can pivot not on some grand tactical masterstroke, but on a tiny chaotic moment that lasts less than a second. A bit of late movement, a broken finger, a substitute keeper, a missed nick, and suddenly the whole trajectory of the innings changes. Unfortunately for Samson, it had the same effect on him too. It was a swing that caused him his injury while keeping, and it was swing that got the better of him while batting too. Samson looked to be fit enough to come back to open the innings, but of the very first ball of the chase, Siraj pitched it up and got the ball to swing away from him. Samson tried to do what he always does, opens his body up and whacks it over the offside. But only this time he managed to get an edge to the keeper. Ironically, there was no missing this edge from the opposite keeper. He appealed, Samson had to walk. Incidentally, the bowler in this case, Gurjapneet, who had failed to hear the edge earlier, that seemed to be the only mistake that he made on the night. In an innings where the Gujarat Titans piled up 229 for 4, batting at 11 and a half, almost an over, most bowlers struggled for control. Gurjapneet's figures of none for 31 from 4 may not immediately stand out, but a closer ball-to-ball examination suggests a performance that was far more impressive than what those figures indicate. What stood out most was his ability to deny rhythm to a batting lineup featuring Sudarshan, who had been going well, Shubman Gill, who obviously got through to his 50 as well, and Josh Buttler, who came on and tonked the ball around. Throughout the spell, Gurjapneet consistently operated in awkward areas. Lengths that were neither full enough to drive comfortably nor short enough to pull with authority. The result was a stream of singles, taps, dabs, rather than a clean, dominant stroke play that was happening at the other end of the bowling. Against Sudarshan in particular, he was a tough nut to crack. His in-between lengths and the off and middle stump line in the first 3 overs that he bowled did not allow the lefty any rhythm. At the other end, Gill charged at every other bowler, but Gurjapneet did not afford him that luxury. One attempted attacking stroke resulted in an inside edge, while another shorter delivery forced Gill onto the back foot rather than allowing him to commit fully to the pull shot. Perhaps the most encouraging aspect of the spell was Gurjapneet's tactical awareness. In his first couple of overs, he operated at around 135 km/h speeds, bowling a stump-to-stump channel at Sai Sudharsan and angling it away from Gill. They were not able to hit him. Of his third and fourth over, which came in the second half of the innings, Gurjapneet changed pace, but a lot of them weren't premeditated, but more based on how the batter were trying to line up. There were a couple of 11th hour switches of pace from the bowler. In his final over, which was the 18th of the innings, he came around the stumps at side, a tactic that was used by Spencer Johnson in the previous game as well. But it's a difficult angle to bowl if you aren't prepared for it. And for a moment, it showed too, as an attempted Yorker turned into a full toss that was dispatched for a six, the first boundary of him coming in his fourth over, the 18th of the innings. That death over did expose areas that still require refinement. His attempted wide Yorker strategy occasionally drifted into wides, and one missed execution became a full toss, which I said disappeared for a six. However, the underlying plans themselves were sound. Even under pressure, he resisted the temptation to bowl predictable pace-on deliveries into hitting arcs. And to be able to execute it that well was hats off to a young T20 fast bowler. This was an encouraging spell as well because it displayed traits that are difficult to teach: game awareness, adaptability, composure, and an understanding of how to disrupt batting rhythm. He ended the season with only 4 wickets of the 8 matches that he's played, and it could have been that fifth one had he appealed. But more vitally, in a tournament where CSK kept losing their seamers to injuries, his tournament economy of 9.25 runs per over was quite acceptable, especially given that he bowled his overs at various times during a game, unlike, say, a Mukesh Chaudhary who knew he was going to bowl 3 overs in the power play, or a Jamie Overton and Anshul Kamboj who had bowled a lot of their overs in the final five, so they were preparing for those wide Yorkers. Gurjapneet was bowling all throughout, in the power play, in the middle overs, and the death. And while he may not yet possess a consistently lethal wicket-taking ball, he looks already capable of becoming the kind of bowler who quietly controls phases of an innings, even in high-scoring encounters. Gujarat Titans suddenly are looking like the team to beat because of their strong bowling attack. The kind of rhythm that Siraj and Rabada are in, it might not be too easy for any team or any batsman to come hard at them at the very beginning. Siraj finished with 3 for 26 and Rabada also grabbed 3 wickets. But more importantly, he bowled at such a hostile pace. In fact, in the fourth over of the CSK innings, which was Rabada's second, he bowled 6 balls, the over, all of which were above 150 km/h. And that's not easy to do, not in T20 cricket when the batsmen are going after you. While he still went for runs in that over, what I'm trying to allude here is that he looks to be bowling with the kind of pace and control that places him as one of the best bowlers of the tournament. But he's a joint highest wicket taker for the tournament, so, well, no shit, Sherlock. There's a good possibility, like a 99+% probability, that GT and RCB will meet in the first qualifier with the winner going through to the finals. And there's a delicious battle as a result of that coming up between Rabada and Kohli. The first time they faced off this season, Kohli took advantage of a sitter put down by Sundar of Siraj at short mid-wicket and played a match-winning knock for his side. In their reverse fixture, Kohli opened with 4 fours of Rabada in an over before the pacey South African got him caught off a ball that cramped him for room, which means there's a part 3 to this battle coming up, and we hope that it's an equally awesome one. A quick one to end, but for the first time this IPL, where a team suffer a 2-over fielding penalty for not bowling their overs in time. Not sure how many times has this happened at the international level, but surely not too many times in IPL as a whole, because this law just came about a year or two back. And I just hope that umpires get stricter about applying this penalty law more stringently in the future, because I've seen that far too many teams are bowling their overs slowly, and as I've said in my previous video, IPL has a time issue. Far too many matches are going over the 4-hour mark. You can watch this video here. So that's that from me. It's been a pleasure bringing you these IPL videos. Let me know in the comments what you thought about CSK's campaign. GT's chances, and your prediction for the GT vs RCB qualifier. If that happens, and I'm sure that's going to happen. Also, do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will be back soon. Bye bye.